Before we dive in, if you're drawn to the hidden edges of history, the parts they don't linger on in textbooks, subscribe now. This channel digs into the uncomfortable truths, the buried decisions, and the rules humanity broke, then swore never to break again. Because tonight's story? It's not about heroism. World War II didn't just redraw borders. It rewrote morality. When nations are pushed to extinction-level fear, survival stops being noble and starts being savage. Soldiers, resistance fighters, and intelligence agencies used tactics so effective, so ruthless, that after the war, the world quietly agreed. Never again. These aren't battlefield myths. These are documented practices, later outlawed, buried, or denied. And the disturbing question is, did banning them actually make war more humane? Or did it just make us forget what humans are capable of? Here are 7 World War II survival tricks so savage, they were outlawed forever. Number 1, the No Prisoner Directive. Early in the war, survival math was, well, brutal. Prisoners required food, guards, medical care, and of course, time. And in fast-moving, behind-enemy lines operations, those were luxuries soldiers just didn't have. So some units on all sides adopted an unspoken rule. If capture endangered the mission, there would be no capture, no paperwork, no witnesses, no mouths to feed. It worked, and that was the problem. After the war, the Geneva Conventions were expanded explicitly to erase this logic from military doctrine. Because, once prisoners stop being human, everyone becomes expendable. Fake surrenders. A raised hand used to mean safety. White cloth meant ceasefire. But during the Second World War, sometimes it meant a trap. There were documented cases of soldiers feigning surrender, only to detonate explosives or open fire once enemies lowered their weapons. Tactically effective, psychologically devastating, because after that, no surrender could ever be trusted again. Post-war laws classified this as perfidy, one of the fastest ways to be branded a war criminal. Why? Because it turns mercy into weakness, and hesitation into a death sentence. Ask yourself, how long does a war last once compassion becomes lethal? Weaponized starvation. Starvation wasn't just a consequence of war. It was used deliberately. Supply lines were cut not just to weaken armies, but to break cities, to collapse morale, to turn civilians into pressure points. In some occupied territories, food access was manipulated with terrifying precision. Calories became currency. Hunger became obedience. People didn't just die quietly. They made impossible choices. After the Second World War, intentional starvation of civilians was outlawed under international law. Not because it wasn't effective, no, but because, honestly, it worked just too well. Hunger doesn't leave ruins. It leaves silence. Human shield tactics. In urban warfare, civilians became cover. Forced marches through contested streets. prisoners positioned near military targets, families used to discourage airstrikes. From a cold, tactical standpoint, it reduced incoming fire. From a human standpoint, it erased the line between combatant and victim. After the war, the use of human shields was banned outright. Yet the uncomfortable truth is this: the tactic didn't disappear, only the admission did. Booby-trapped bodies. This one is hard to talk about. In some theatres of war, retreating forces rigged corpses with explosives. The assumption was simple: compassion would draw someone close. Medics, friends, civilians, and then detonation. The goal wasn't just casualties. It was fear. Fear of helping. Fear of touching. Fear of the dead. After the Second World War, this was categorized as a war crime. Because, it weaponized empathy itself. What kind of war makes kindness dangerous? Indiscriminate area bombing. Entire cities erased, not for military precision, but for psychological collapse. The theory was pretty simple, really. If you break civilian morale, the war ends faster. Firestorms, shockwaves, oxygen sucked from lungs. It wasn't chaos, it was calculation. After the war, international law shifted toward distinguishing military targets from civilian populations. But, the debate never really ended, because deep down, strategists still argue the same forbidden question. Is mass terror justified if it shortens war? Here's the quietest secret of the Second World War. Chemical weapons were ready, stockpiled, tested. Every major power prepared for chemical warfare, not to win battles, but honestly just to survive retaliation. The understanding was grim. If one side used gas, everyone would. Mutual annihilation, before that phrase even had a name. After the war, chemical weapons were outlawed almost universally, not because they were ineffective, but because once used, they can't be controlled. They don't stop when the battle ends. They linger, they mutate, they wait. Here's the uncomfortable truth history doesn't like to dwell on. These tactics weren't banned because they failed. They were banned because they worked. Too well, too efficiently, too permanently. World War II forced humanity to look into a mirror and recoil. So the laws were written, the conventions signed, the promises made, but every time a war breaks out, the same question quietly returns. When survival is on the line, how long do rules last? If this video made you uncomfortable, good. That means you're paying attention. Subscribe if you want more stories history tried to clean up, and tell me in the comments, which of these shocked you the most?